Welcome back, everyone. It's D2 with Big Peach. And first of all, I want to thank everyone that commented on my previous video, that subscribed. That is very much appreciated. I think this has been the most, the video that has gotten the most engagement, the most comments. And maybe because it was a little bit sort of maybe controversial or maybe very opinionated as to why you shouldn't watch or pay attention or put much value into YouTube reviews. And here I am, going to provide you a YouTube review. But as I said previously, there's some guidelines I'm going to follow, and I'm not going to give you a lot of hype. I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what I feel when I run in this particular shoe. In this case, it is the Altra Experience Wild, a trail shoe. And I'm going to break things down for you. I'm going to give you sort of like my opinion. I still think that you should try it on for yourself. Go to a store, your local running store, come to Big Peach, try it on for yourself. And the other thing I'm going to comment, because there's some people out there that commented, you know, I don't put much value in YouTubers that review products that you don't actually see them using. If you're doing shoe reviews and you're not running in them, or I don't see you running in them, or you put up the shoe and you say you've reviewed it and you've run in it and it looks like it came fresh out of the box, I just don't have a lot of trust in that review. And so you will see video of me running in the shoe in several occasions, and you will see a dirty shoe. Yeah, it's got trail dirt on it. It's got red clay because I'm in Georgia, and that's what shoes should look like. If you run in them, they should look like you put some use into them and you put some mileage into them. So I think hopefully that provides you with, that allows you to see that maybe I'm a little bit more legitimate and providing you an honest review. So let's first start out with the with just some background. This is brand new. Altra has, for like since its inception, has always been a zero drop shoe, and that sort of maybe scared some people away because they thought zero meant minimal. And zero means it's just the difference from the heel right here to the forefoot, that it's basically flat and level. Well, Altra started doing things a little bit differently and started going with a 4mm drop. So there is a slight drop from the heel to the forefoot. So anyone that has any issues with Achilles or tight calves are going to have less issues than in a zero drop shoe. The other thing that they've done, and a big change for them, is that they've gone to this rocker style geometry. So has this very kind of toe spring. It's a higher toe spring. The back is sort of ramped a little bit, and that's supposed to aid in that transition, primarily if you're landing from heel and rolling off to the toes. It makes that transition a little bit smoother. They're not brand new to this. There's other brands that have done the exact same thing. Saucony's done it. Hoka's done it. I think Hoka's one of the pioneers in that type of geometry. It's in all their shoes. So this puts them very similar to some of these other shoes. So let's talk about some of the things that in general, right? As far as this shoe is stack height, and it varies on where you go and where you look up the information, but it's very similar to a Hoka Speedgoat. It's within the range, a couple millimeters range. Still both the Hoka Speedgoat, 4mm drop. I would compare it, and even Altra, I'd say, it's comparable to the Brooks Cascadia, the Nike Wildhorse. I would even put it, like I said, against the, they said the Saucony or the Hoka Challenger, which I've run in, and is comparable to this. And I would also say the Speedgoat is comparable to the Altra Experience Wild. So as far as the weight, I would say it's average. It's actually, when I looked up the specs, it's very similar to a Speedgoat, slightly lighter, but overall didn't notice any much of a difference as far as it being heavy or anything like that on my runs. As far as the upper, seems like it's a very breathable mesh through here. It's got some ventilation. I didn't feel any kind of hot spots. As far as the upper, you can see that it does have some reinforcement around the laces. So I'll let you take a look at that, and hopefully that focuses in. It felt really good. It's also, it does have the extra eye hole on here if you need to secure that heel. I didn't find that as an issue. Overall, the tongue is padded. It is a traditional tongue, so it's not gusset or semi-gusset. It's a traditional tongue. It's a nice padded tongue, which felt really good slipping it on. The heel collar also has a nice nice padding around that heel. So that does help sort of secure that heel a little bit better. And I'll be honest, I've had issues with Altra shoes in the past where the heel has felt a little bit loose, and I do need to use those extra holes in the eyelets to secure that heel and do that runner's loop. To be honest, I've also done it in a couple Hoka shoes. So as far as the other things that I'd say that are kind of unique or different that sort of kind of stand out, and if it might appeal to you, is that Altra uses these little tabs here, what they call their gator trap system. So if you need to wear a gaiter, which is a device that you slide over your ankle to kind of keep debris and rocks and things like that out of from entering the inside of the shoe, this is a nice feature. So it uses a Velcro here in the back to secure a loop, and then a hook up here up front that attaches to this loop. So it's a nice feature. I haven't seen any other shoes except for Altra shoes. I know that they've got it in a couple of their shoes. So to me, that means that it's built for the serious trail runner that's going to go out there and put some serious miles, get into some technical and challenging terrain. And then the other thing that I would say it's a nice little plus, and one of the things I notice is the pull tab. So the pull tab, as you can kind of see, is off at an angle, which is sort of weird when you look at it. And one of the things I noticed as soon as I slid that on is when you typically put your shoe on, you tend to rotate your foot inward, and then you grab the pull tab and pull up to slide it in, Well, when you do that, it just feels very natural because now it's at the proper angle when you're pulling up, where most shoes, you're pulling it up and it's sort of off to a side. So it's just a little detail. And it's one of the things that I actually was invited by Altra to I don't even know what to call it, a conference, a sell-in summit, a retailer summit, where we were in Colorado, and we had, I was there along with other run specialty stores where we got to preview some of the products, for next year. And we got to talk to their sales team, their marketing team, their higher ups, their CEO. And they were very open, honest, and transparent, and I won't get too much into that, but they did have the product development team. So when they asked feedback as to, what we thought about it, I just pointed this out, and I would say that the product team was noticeably appreciative of that detail. They said they were like little Easter eggs and things like that in the shoe, and just knowing that I gave them that feedback seemed like they felt really good about that, because it seems like they put a lot of emphasis in the detail. And I feel like if they're putting that type of, work into the details, into the little things, that overall the shoe's going to be a pretty nice, and they put a lot more effort into that, into this shoe. So when I took the shoe out for a run initially, like I said, slid on very nicely, felt pretty good. The padded tongue, the padded heel collar, even the padded heel here felt really good. We went out for a run. We were running up in Vail, and it was still that was in April. So there was still some snow on the ground. We didn't run trails. We ran on paths, on a greenway type of bike path, from in Vail Village. And ran really about 4 miles. There was still snow and some ice. We had to watch out for that. But overall, it felt pretty good. So it wasn't until I got back home where I really was able to, take it on the trails and really get a feel for it. So overall, it felt really good. So like I said, the upper feels really good and breathable. It's just now starting to get warm, so I really won't know the full effects of it until I get into the heat of the summer and right smack in the middle of it to really know if it's going to feel really hot. But overall, it feels pretty good. With Altra, they're known for having that wide toe box, and that I'll say that this felt really good as far as the space allowed without it feeling too loose. Right here in the middle, it hugged the foot really nicely as I laced them up. It just sort of sucked in that midfoot area and provided a nice secure feel without it feeling restrictive. It just felt very supportive. And once again, the heel collar felt really good. Didn't feel like it slipped at all, and I think it has a lot to do with that padding. So overall, just slip-in comfort felt really, really good. Okay, so as far as, like I said, that's the fit. Overall, I like the roomy toe box. I think if you're doing those long distances, you're going to want a shoe that has an extra room. The heel, everything like I said, felt really good. There wasn't anything that was noticeable I found that I would say, oh, this is something I would watch out for. Overall, I felt really good and comfortable. For the feel of the shoe, like I said, the midsole feels soft. There is you can sort of kind of push down on it and see that it sort of gives a little bit. It is a, what do you call it, compression molded EVA. So it's not some high-tech foam. It just uses traditional EVA, but you know, their own, I guess, proprietary blend and manufacturing of it, that it feels soft and cushioned, but it doesn't feel like mushy. It doesn't feel like you're sinking into it. It's still a fairly lightweight EVA. Still also responsive, I would say, because I did feel like if you wanted to pick up the pace, you could. You weren't sinking in the shoe, but it absorbed the impact when you landed on like rocks or roots to where you didn't feel that impact. So it sort of dispersed that impact. Like I said, still you wouldn't necessarily feel the ground underneath, but it didn't feel soft and mushy, which I think is a nice balance of those properties. As far as the ride, you know, I would say that once again, it does have that rocker shaped geometry, and I tend to land more midfoot to forefoot. And I do find that that rocker shaped geometry just suits me better. Most of the shoes that I tend to enjoy, I just have that rocker geometry, and it just makes that transition a little bit smoother, a little bit quicker when I need to, and it just feels overall comfortable. And I would say that right now, this for me is a fun shoe. It's a shoe that if I'm going on trails, doesn't matter if I'm going short distance, and right now most of them going short distance. I'm not really doing any long distance stuff, but I've done anywhere from 3 to 5 miles, and it feels fun. And that's what running is about, right? You want it to feel fun and almost easier, effortless. And it's always going to be difficult, especially once you break up those miles and the pace. But right now, this shoe feels fun. It feels comfortable. It makes me want to go out and run trails. So the other thing that I would say, and I did mention the Speedgoat being comparable to this, and I know, and I've run the Speedgoat, and I've done ultras in the Speedgoat. I've done 50K in the Speedgoat, and that's been sort of my go-to shoe. I would give this a serious consideration if I got back into doing ultras, because it does feel slightly lighter, and like I said, I'd have to compare it, and on the numbers, the Hoka is like 0.3 ounce, I believe, heavier. It's not anything noticeable. It just, the way the shoe feels and transitions feels a little bit lighter. But what I think edges it out over the Speedgoat for me is the stiffness. This shoe is not very stiff. As you can see, there's some flex and some give in this. And with the Hoka Speedgoat, it tends to be a little bit stiffer. And I think that adds a little bit to that bulkiness, even though weight-wise, they're very similar. Stack height, very similar. So I would almost give this an edge to the Experience Wild, not to mention the wider toe box. The Speedgoat is a great shoe. Toe box is decent, but this gives extra room, and I tend to like that. And I'll go back and throw back to a shoe in a brand that is no longer making trail shoes or running shoes, and it was Pearl Zumi. Pearl Zumi, I think it was like almost 10 years ago, and maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, they stopped and got out of the running business. But they used to make several trail shoes, and this reminds me of it. And it was a favorite amongst several trail runners. They liked the low drop, they liked the material, they liked the weight, and the transition felt very smooth. Did have that rocker shaped geometry, and they sold them in as far as different models, as far as depending on stack height. So a level 1 was lower to the ground, a 2 was medium, and a 3 was a higher stack height. This would remind me of a neutral version of their 2, which I think it was their Trail N2, N standing for neutral, and that's what this is a neutral cushioned shoe. And this is what it sort of reminds me of. And so if you're a fan, or were a fan of the Pearl Zumi trail shoes or road shoes, I would consider the Experience an option. And they also make a road version of this shoe. And like I said, the only difference really is just the outsole. Everything else is pretty much the same. Upper material probably is a little bit different. I haven't had a chance to run in it or even try it on. But I would give that shoe also, you know, a shot, and I'm hoping that I can get my hands on it. I may actually buy it myself and try it out, because I do think if this shoe is fun to run on trails, road shoe is going to probably feel very similar. And I think it's one of those great combinations of, if you have two shoes that are almost identical except for the traction, one for trail and one for road, you're gonna have very similar experience. So as far as the lugs, I'm not really sure if it's a 4mm, 5mm lug, but it uses their Max Trax, which, you know, Altra claims has a lot of traction. I didn't have any issues with it, but I haven't done anything really super technical or sloppy. Like I said, it seems comparable to the Speedgoat. I mean, if the Speedgoat is a 5mm, this might be 4, might be 5. Like I said, they're very similar. I haven't measured them or compared them side by side. So those are my thoughts. Like I said, I would recommend that you go out and you try it on yourself. You know, I'm going to keep running in mine. I'm going to keep testing it out and seeing if I have any issues. But right now, no issues whatsoever. Nothing negative that I could point out to it. I think it's a great, you know, new model from Altra. Like I said, I haven't always been a fan of Altra. There's some of them haven't felt that great to me. I've done the zero drop, and I've had some issues with them when I put a lot of miles, especially very quickly, if I haven't been accustomed to a zero drop shoe. And, you know, I've also seen the upper be a little bit too big and baggy. This uses Altra's standard fit, which is sort of like that wider toe box, but I would say very average fit right in the midfoot to the heel. They also have the original, which is a lot wider overall. And that for me it's a little bit too big and a little too sloppy. So some great options from Altra. And like I said, give this a shot. Stop by your local running store. Shop at Big Peach. If you're in the Atlanta area, come in, try it out. Try the regular experience. That is available through several of our locations, and then we've got a couple locations closer up to North Georgia, closer to trails, that are carrying the Experience Wild. So give those a shot, and I appreciate, once again, those of you that subscribe and for supporting the channel. I make nothing out of this. I'm doing this simply out of the joy of that I love running, that I'm a little bit of a shoe geek, and that I get to test this stuff out and share my thoughts and opinions with you guys. So leave some comments below. Have you tried it? Any questions about it? And maybe I'll do a head-to-head with the Speedgoat or a Peregrine. I think I've got the older version of the Peregrine, just to give you some, you know, comparisons between them. At the same time, I'm not running that much these days. Just trying to squeeze my miles in between work and now being a puppy owner. I got 2 puppies, as you saw in the videos. They're cute, they're adorable, and I got to take care of them. And luckily, I took them out for a little walk run, and they're napping right now. Otherwise, they'd be you'd hear them barking. So thanks for watching. Drop your comments below, and remember, may your best miles be those covered foot, and I'll see you out on the trails or roads. See ya.